おはようございます。今日も朝のHoudini作業配信をやっていこうと思います。昨日は今映ってる画面が、昨日の最後の画面なんですが、昨日の動画のセットアップで続きの動画があるので、今日は引き続きそっちをやっていこうと思います。ございます。というわけで、動画を流します。
As mentioned in the previous video, I want to work a bit on those areas where the wire is and want to give those more detail. Actually, I want to replace the wire with geometry. And to do that, I'll be diving in and working in the surface geometry here, and I'll actually disable the wire geometry totally. Just going to work on this.
はい。というわけで、昨日、こんな感じでやっていたんですが、今日のファイルもそのままに続きをやろうと思います。じゃあ、戻します。よいしょ。
Geometry here where I create the wire here. And I want to do this in a weird order of operation, which you would normally not do, just to illustrate a point here. So what I want to do is on the resample node here, I want to enable the tangent U attribute and call it N for normal.
X のビジュアライザーのショートカットなんでなくなってまった。ゼロで入ってるだけなんだ。というノーマルにする。
What the tangent U attribute is just the tangent of this curve saved for each point. That means the vector pointing from one point on the curve to the next point on the curve, connecting those individual points. And by saving it as a normal attribute here, I can use it in a copy to points to orient copies onto those points here. Maybe let's use a box. Scale this down to 0.01, like so. Widen the copy to points, making sure
沿って配置されますと。
0.01, like so, widen the copy to points, making sure that on the copy to points I check pack an instance, then highlighting it. And all of this are transparent boxes. They are transparent because the
表示されている。で、パックにして。
pack an instance, then highlighting it. And all copy to points, making sure that on the pack an instance, then highlighting it. And all of this are transparent boxes. They are transparent because the material I assigned is a glass material. So on the OBJ tab here, the render tab, let's just delete the material so we can see. Solid boxes. So I'm instancing those individual boxes onto those points that I created using that resample here. And maybe, just maybe, I'll space those resampled points apart a tiny bit. And let's say I want to copy the boxes only on a random subset of those points, so randomly selecting a few points. Well, of course, you could select random points previously. However, it would require you to chain together a few nodes, be a bit hacky, or write a few lines of vex. And with Houdini 19, side effects labs ships with a labs random selection, which is a handy single-click node, can be used to select individual random points. In this case, I want to select half of my points, so a ratio of 0.5. And you can see automatically this node is set up to color the selected points blue. However, I don't want to color them. Instead, I want to create
なるほど。ちょっと見づらいけど。ランダムで。選ばれるってことか。グループ作れば。にできるのか。これで制御できる。X も書かなくていいし、楽でいい。
a group from that selected points called selected. And let's just uncheck the colorization here. So now, when middle mousing here, I can see I've got half of my points in this selected group, and it's a random selection that's in here. To use them, I'll just set the target points group to selected. And now I only instance and copy those boxes onto the random selected points originating from my lines here. Let's just copy the copy to points. paste it and maybe wire up a sphere into it instead of a box, which I also scale down to be 0.0. Units in size. I'm going to wire that in here as well. So now those boxes have been replaced by those spheres. However, they are using the same points as my previous boxes. So instead of copying those spheres onto the selected point group, I want to copy them onto each point that is not in the selected group. I can do that by just adding an exclamation mark in front of this group here, telling Houdini to use every point that is not in the selected group. And now if I merge those both streams, both the boxes and the spheres, I can see I now have all points back together. Just randomly instance boxes or spheres onto each point. One last thing I want to do is add a group promote after the copy the points which copied the boxes onto the selected points. So I'm going to write that in and use this group promote to promote from points to primitives the selected group. And let's give it a new name and call it boxes. So in effect what we create here is now that the copy to points created instances for each of those boxes. We now have all these instances put into a prim group that's just storing which of those
キーボード上グループしてないのに残ってんのなんで消えた。
those primitives are boxes and which are not. So down here arrives a stream consisting out of those 2,430 something primitives, of which half are in the boxes group, which are the boxes. Say I want to replace these primitives with something a bit more elaborate, maybe a model of a molecule. Shout out to the science visualization crowd out there. I'll just build cheap and maybe not entirely accurate models of molecules using a platonic, set to be a dodecahedron. Let's highlight this. So this platonic solid here, turning it into a wireframe using the wireframe. Node, which I'll then convert to polygons using the convert node, and then maybe using another copy to points to copy the platonic solid polygons using the convert. third node, and then maybe using another copy the points to copy the platonic solid, which I want to transform and scale down a bit. Before I do that, I'll take the platonic, transform it to only a quarter of its original scale, like so, and then copy that onto its original platonic solid's edge points, so resulting in that, and then merging it to its original platonic solid's edge points, so resulting in that, and then merging it with the wireframe.
おかしいな。出た出た。ウルトラ行ってねえのか。
Resulting in this fantasy molecule here. Let's copy this whole tree here, paste it one more time, and maybe create a second.
おかしいな。なんでキーボード出ないんだろう。設定変わっちゃってるかな。キーストロークの表示がおかしいな。
Merging it with the wireframe, resulting in this fantasy molecule here. Let's copy this whole tree here, paste it one more time, and maybe create a second fantasy molecule by just setting the platonic solids type to octahedral, like so. Okay, say I have only this geostream containing these individual spheres and boxes, and they are oriented in space, and I would like to replace them, and I don't have access to just plugging them into these copy to points because this geostream for some reason is all I have. Up until now, that would result in a fair bit of wrangling, either via bops or begs, and a bit of head scratching. However, with Houdini 19, side effects introduced a new node called pack inject. And what this thing can do is replace one or more of these instances with another geometry, and also make sure that new geometry is packed, is instanced, and is transformed to be on the same spot in the same orientation as the original geometry. Let me show you what I mean. These are the two molecules that I want to replace those spheres and boxes with. They are still a bit big, so let's use another transform, set to a uniform scale of 0.01. Copy and paste this and use one for our dodecahedral molecule and one for our icosahedral molecule here. And then let's use the pack inject and wire in our original geostream, the one with the spheres and the cubes. And in the second node, wire in our molecule, our dodecahedral molecule in this case, and highlight the packed inject here. And you can see automatically and quickly it replaced all geometry that came in through the original stream. That means both spheres and boxes with this dodecahedral molecule. And when we middle mouse on it, resulting geostream, we can still see that this are packed primitives, so they will render fast and won't clog up your scene. However, in this case, I only want to replace the boxes with that dodecahedral molecule, which I can do because up here I created a primitive group, so my boxes are in their own primitive group here, and I can select that group on the packed inject node by just selecting it under the group here. So now we are only replacing the boxes, and you can see these spheres are still kept. Let's just copy that pack inject and paste it down here, wire it up after the first packed inject, and replace the dodecahedral molecule here with the icosahedral molecule here. And now our boxes get replaced with that icosahedral molecule. And you can see the molecule is also oriented in the way the boxes were previously. However, in this case, I want to replace the spheres with the icosahedral molecule. So I can do that again by selecting everything but the boxes group using an exclamation mark in front of it. And now you can see I have both my boxes and my spheres replaced by those respective molecules. Let's just find an interesting angle, maybe save this and start our Solaris desktop. Let's look through our camera 1 and make sure.
バックインジェクトすげえな。知らない便利なノートがたくさんあるんだな。セレクションとバックインジェクトね。カウントでもできんだ。消すのもできると。ほう。もう機能としてはめちゃめちゃシンプルだな。
We are on our stage viewport here. We can stop. Let's look through an interesting angle.
ソラリス。
Maybe save this and start our Solaris desktop. Let's look through our camera 1 and make sure we are on our stage viewport here.
引っ張んなくても表示してる。
Desktop. Let's look through our camera 1 and
いや、わからん。ワイヤーが引っ張られてんだよな。なんだこれ。リフレッシュできんの。よくわからんぞ。
make sure we are on our stage viewport here. And we can see a look through our camera one. Maybe save this and start our Solaris desktop. Let's look through our camera.
これで消えたか。でもサーフェスコード。これ外れてないのか。
One and make sure we are on our stage viewport here. And we can see a very fuzzy rendering. That is because we didn't set the camera's focal point correctly. So let's go.
黄色いのは何？よくわからん。ちょっと待ってね。
Back to our
そう。
OBJ level, and either on our OBJ camera here, let's just frame this.
ここでカメラいじっちゃうとエディットつくんだ。ここで選択してるからか。
And make sure the camera isn't locked to the viewport anymore. And like in previous versions,
ロックしてねえじゃん。
and make sure the camera isn't locked to the viewport anymore. And like in previous versions of Houdini, selecting the camera, making sure the tool handles are selected, and then over the viewport pressing Z, we can bring up the focus.
でセレクティングして、ずっとノージョントレンド化する。ピボットセット。なんだこの Z をよくわかんない。
Focus handle and just
Z をしてるけど、フォーカスハンドルなんか出ねえぞ。あ、これで G か。
move that in way closer to focus on those areas nearby here, maybe like so.
G か。なるほど。
Going back to our Solaris desktop and switching it to the stage viewport. So now you can see we are focused on these glass molecules. However, if you want to easily adjust focus in here in the stage context, what you can do is with the camera locked like so, going back to our Solaris desktop glass molecule to the stage viewport, yeah, maybe like so, going back to our Solaris desktop. And switching it to the stage viewport. So now you can see we are focused on these glass molecules. However, if you want to easily adjust focus in here in the stage context, what you can do is with the camera locked to the viewport, just move the camera slightly and Houdini will automatically create an edit cam1 node for you that will override or manipulate certain data coming in to Solaris from your normal OBJ level that specifies the camera's parameters. For example, under the sampling tab, here under the focus distance, you can set this to set, create a value, and then just focus in here in the stage context. What you can do is with the camera locked to the viewport, just move the camera and Houdini will automatically create an edit cam1 node for you that will override or manipulate certain data coming into Solaris from your normal OBJ level that specifies the camera's parameters. For example, under the sampling tab, here under the focus distance, you can set this to set or create a value, and then you can dial in your focal distance directly in here and reset the focus. Same goes, of course, for the f-stop here. So by setting this a good bit higher, we should get a bit more depth of field, like so, and setting it smaller, we should narrow the depth of field, like so. So with this node, you can easily override your camera settings coming in from OBJ. So again, let's recap what we did here. In Solaris, we edited our camera settings using the edit cam node here, overriding some of its parameters, and in our build desktop on the OBJ level, not only did we in here copy geometry onto the wires we created, in this case just consisting out of boxes and spheres, but also we went over a very easy technique to replace this geometry in a pack primitive stream using the pack inject node. One of those nodes that Side Effects weirdly doesn't talk much about in their presentations, but I think a node that will come in very handy in a bunch of setups in the real life. As always, we are intrigued to see what you guys cook up using that technique, and if you want to support us or want to learn more about Houdini, you might want to
これもちゃんとレンダリングしてるかどうかわかんねえな。まだ 10% か。まあ、いいか。今日は、はい、一旦動画は終わりました。はい。で、今日は、ソップの新しいノードの使い方だったりとか、あとはソラリス上での、ソラリスで、多分この辺にカメラのアイコンとここがロックされているので、これを動かすことによって、OBJ じゃなくても、ここからカメラ操作が、ソラリスのステージからカメラの操作ができて、そうするとこのエディットカムっていうのが勝手に生成されるようですね。で、このタブから選ぶことによって、好きなパラメータを上書きで再設定できるみたいな、デプスオブフィールドとか、その辺の設定を入れたいときに、ソラリス上で見ながら微調整できるみたいなことかなと思います。なんで、基本的なシェーダー周りとか、ベースのセットアップはほぼ変わっていないので、という感じですね。ちょっと非常に遅いんですが、レンダリングが。サンプリングレートが、昨日のままなんで、かなり高いんですが、多分自分のマシンがなんかエラーがちょいちょい出るので、XPU のセットアップで足りないものがあるのかなっていう気はします。っていう感じですね。OBJ でいくと、これの CPU はここをロックしておけば OBJ 見れるのかな。いけたいけた。この辺のラボスランダムセレクションとか、これめちゃめちゃ便利ですね。 割合に応じてポイントを選んでくれるみたいで、あとパックインジェクトも、これもパックしといたオブジェクトをサクッと別のオブジェクトに差し替えてくれるのも、機能自体はシンプルですけど、すごい強力だなと思いました。はい。というわけで、今日のところはこんなところで、後でレンダリングはしておきたいと思います。ご視聴ありがとうございました。